Noel.
And welcome back to AFA Today. Fred Jackson sitting in for Kevin McCullough today. Well, it was about a week ago when a bunch of 20-somethings were called to the White House for kind of a youth summit. And basically what they heard was an infomercial from the president himself pitching, of course, Obamacare. These are some of the things he had to say. He said, the product is good. It's affordable. We're going to keep working through any glitches, problems that may come up. He urged them to spread the word. He said, so if you're a student body president, set up a conference on campus. If you're a bartender, have a happy hour. Now stop and think about that. President of the United States telling a bunch of young people at the White House to go open a bar somewhere and have a happy hour in order to sell Obamacare. I probably could go into that subject deeper, but I won't. And he went on to say, post something on your Facebook or Instagram. All right, so that's the President of the United States trying to sell Obamacare to a bunch of young people who supported him and helped elect him and re-elect him 2008, 2012. But there's been a turn. Harvard University survey shows that only 41% of these young people now, these millennials, I guess we call them the official name, supporting President Barack Obama. There's a big problem, and that means a big problem for Obamacare. And to help us sift through all of this, we have with us right now Ashley Pratte, who is with Young America's Foundation. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this subject.
All right, tell us a little bit about your group before we get into this discussion. What's Young America's Foundation all about?
Sure. So Young America's Foundation is essentially an organization that promotes the idea of free market principles, traditional values as well as conservative values. And we really work with young students, whether it be in the high school stages or in college. So we have a lot of different Young America's for Freedom chapters across the country on college and high school campuses. And we really work to promote those conservative values among young people and to help get our message out there. We do a lot of different conferences and programming, as well as different sponsored events, and we bring out guest speakers in the conservative movement to these different conferences and onto college campuses. So we do have a lot of resources for young people who are looking to become engaged and really, take a stand in the conservative movement.
Well, listen, before we get into the issue of why young people are changing their mind about President Barack Obama, I want to get your opinion on why so many of these same young people in 2008 and 2012 voted for Barack Obama and helped to get him into power. Why was it? What was going on in their minds then that has now changed?
I definitely think a lot of it, at this point in time, has become a disenchantment with the Obama administration and with the president and his policies. A lot of millennials, as we'll call them, young people are realizing that a lot of the policies that they were supportive of back in 2008 and 2012, they're seeing a lot of failures and broken promises. And I think that's one thing that's, definitely leading young people to distrust in the government as well as government programs. So I think we'll start seeing a swing over to conservatism among young people because of the fact that they feel as though, the president had a responsibility to them. They really had their hopes very, very high, and I think they all feel very let down by him and his policies, seeing as the young people are being the hardest hit by, the economic issues of today as well as this healthcare policy. Saying this is free healthcare 5 years ago, it's definitely not free. But the idea of free healthcare definitely, I think, got young people excited about all the opportunities that Obamacare would create for them. And now they're seeing that simply was not true. And with all the flip-flopping that's occurred in the administration, the press conferences where, enrolling in Obamacare is supposed to be extremely simple. It's like going on Amazon. It's like booking a flight on Expedia. That's where they were really trying to target young people. And I don't think young people at this point are buying what the administration is selling anymore after seeing the failures with the website launch. They really have not done an effective job of kind of capturing the audience of that, young millennial demographic anymore. And, I think that it's a real opportunity now for the conservative movement to come in and give these people something to believe in.
You know, if I gather from what you're saying is that back in 2008, 2012, there was hope that this president would make their life easier for them, whether it is the cost of education, healthcare, as you say.
Certainly.
Yeah, and so that's just not happening.
No, it's simply not happening, and I think that's another issue with this generation. I'm included in it, being 24 years old. The whole idea of entitlement, and it's something that I think a lot of other generations, they really had to work hard to get where they are. But growing up in the time that we did, it's become I deserve this, oh, I need this, oh, I want this, and I need to have it now. We're living in a society and a culture that's all about instant gratification, and you believe things are owed to you. The idea of work ethic has definitely gone by the wayside. And when, Obama was running, a lot of young people saw him speaking and believed in what he was saying, and the fact that a lot of it was not true, not thinking about the economic consequences or their future economic standing, how that would apply to them later on in life. But nothing is free, and I think that was a lot of the issue here. Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, let's give everybody health care. But what cost does that, it come to for the American people? It's definitely going to lead to increased tax dollars. And if these young people don't enroll in Obamacare, which I think the study has said they need about 30% of the young, healthy population to enroll in order for this actual initiative to be successful, because they essentially have to be subsidizing the older generation that would enroll in the program. So they do realize that without that crucial 18 to 34-year-old population enrolling, they really can't be successful. It will lead to higher deductibles for that other population that enrolls.
So what I hear you saying is that for financial reasons, perhaps people are changing their minds about this administration.
I think so. Sticker shock has really gotten to them.
Well, tell me, of interest, obviously, to our organization, American Family Radio, American Family Association, are you also seeing a change of mind with regards to issues of importance to Christians as far as abortion and homosexual marriage? This is a president that has championed both of those causes. Some people thought, well, the millennials voted for him for those reasons too. Are you seeing any change in that mindset? And I guess I'm getting at in the spiritual outlook of young people your age.
Well, one thing that I will say in regard to the more traditional values of conservative principles as well as the Christian culture is the fact that this generation is overwhelmingly pro-life. And I see that in a lot of my different social circles that I have as well. Coming from broken families, which is what a lot of my generation is, you've seen the real impact of divorce in single-parent households on my generation. And I think as a result of that, it has led to us being overwhelmingly pro-life. When it comes down to it, when you're talking with young people and you start asking them, are you pro-choice or pro-life? A lot of people will say pro-choice. But then when you continue the conversation and say, well, what if, the fetus can feel pain? Do you think that that's, okay then to, abort the baby? And then you'll realize young people sit there and say, well, no, I don't agree with that. And if that's the case, then you're pro-life with exceptions. So we have to really try to change the messaging, I think, around the issues, because I do think that we can win on them. And there's no doubt about it, but the left has done a great job, definitely, of articulating their message, especially among the young people, and saying, no, you believe in choice, you believe in, controlling your own body, you believe all of this. But at the end of the day, you dig deeper into the issue, and you realize that they're actually with us on the conservative issues. And they see the impact, at least from the fiscal standpoint, too, of what marriage can do for, the family as well, the traditional family. And then you see the impact of, again, the broken homes leading to us being more pro-life. And you realize that as a culture, we do respect life. And I think that has a lot to do with the breakdown of the family in our society today.
What about homosexual marriage? You've dealt with abortion, but where do you see the mindset of many of the young people you talk to going with regards to homosexual marriage?
Yeah, I think that's a much more difficult issue among young people, definitely. But within the Christian movement, there is a lot to be said there. I know there's a lot of great groups, Manhattan Declaration, a couple others over here in D.C. that do a lot of great work on that. But when it comes down to it, fighting for the traditional family, I think is something that, young Christians definitely have to get very engaged in the movement. It's very hard when you are kind of demonized, for having those beliefs and believing in traditional family. But I think it's something that, the administration as well as the left, again, has done a great job of coming out and messaging and saying, everyone is entitled to this. And I really think with DELMA and everything in the legislation that occurred this past summer, it's very hard to take back that messaging war. But at the same time, there's a lot of, young Christians that believe in the traditional values that groups like, Young America's Foundation do champion. And so that's where my thought is on that. Again, I think it's a much more difficult issue to win on at this point in time, just because it has become so deeply, I guess, talked about in the media today, whereas, on the life issue, at least, the Gosnell trials were publicized so deeply that it led to the, 20-week abortion ban subject matter, and then you saw what went on in Texas, and that allowed, young people the opportunity to come out and take a stand against something that they believed in. So who knows? Maybe something like that will happen, for the marriage issue, but I think fighting and defending the principles that we stand for is crucial.
It's interesting as we head into this election year, and a lot of attention is going to be spent by both parties on your age group that we're talking, these millennials. And it's kind of interesting to look at, if a young person is looking at the Democratic Party and they're seeing now new difficulties, particularly related to Obamacare and what it means to them. But then they look at the Republican Party and there's division in the Republican Party over these issues of, do we spend time dealing with abortion, homosexual marriage? And then there's the Tea Party and all of that. So it's politically, it's got to be somewhat challenging for young people today when they look at Democrats, Republicans, and they look at divisions within the Republican Party. How are they dealing with the Tea Party element, for example, in the Republican Party?
Yeah, I think that is one thing that we have been, remiss in doing, where the other side has definitely, really mastered the art of unity. And we, instead of, kind of airing our dirty laundry out with each other behind a closed door, we take to the media to do it, which definitely causes a lot of, unsettling feelings among people that we're trying to attract to our party. So I do think that is very, very difficult, to see in the media and the way, the conservative movement is being portrayed. But at the same time, I think we're losing the messaging battle, and that's where we're really, needing to gain some ground. Because in order to compete with the unified left, the conservative movement really does have to change a conversation and needs to sit down and say, fundamentally, we agree on a lot of these issues. So what is it that we can do to attract young people to make, the conservative movement stronger? And also, when you're looking at it as well, a lot of young people find it hard to relate to the conservative movement just because of the people that they see as their talking heads. We need more, articulate young people to get out there and take a stand for the values that they believe in and, the ideas of freedom. Because when it comes down to it, a lot of young people, given the choice, would choose, ideals that are rooted in freedom. They don't want government intruding in their daily lives, and they're seeing more government is bad. And that's essentially what Obamacare has created for, my generation. But when it comes to attracting young people to the conservative movement, I do think that definitely plays a role, the factions that we have. But I think the way to combat that is to really, kind of unify our messaging and, centralize our message.
What do you try to do, your organization, Young America's Foundation? I know we must have young people listening in this audience today, and they may not be in Washington, and they're not familiar with your group and some other conservative young groups that are out there. What can they do to get in touch with you and to get some help and some encouragement?
Certainly. Our website is yaf.org. Feel free to visit, and you'll see all of our information on there. We have a lot of great different programs. One is our National Journalism Center, which we take interns, student interns, throughout the spring, summer, and then the fall. And they're small classes, and we basically give students that are interested in the journalism career the opportunity to do an internship at a large, media outlet down in Washington, D.C. And we also, train them and equip them, to become ethical journalists. And that's a really great program that we have, as well as our conferences, which are all featured on our website in different parts of the country. So we do some by region. We do some on different campuses. If you're a young student in college looking to bring a conservative speaker to campus, we have a speakers section on our website, and we're more than happy to assist you in that endeavor as well.
That is terrific. We're
about
out of time here. So once again, your website is yaf.org.
Yeah.
Okay. Ashley Pratte of Young America's Foundation, thank you so much for speaking with us. And as I say, we're going to be keeping a close eye for sure on that youth vote, that all-important youth vote. And it is good to hear that young people are getting more engaged and being confronted with reality and the choices that they're going to have to make that affect their future. Ashley Pratte, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
You bet. Listening to AFA Today, Fred Jackson sitting in for Kevin McCullough. Some victories are going on for the conservative movement out there, folks, and there are people fighting back. You've heard about the war on Christmas out there. Well, the great state of Texas is fighting back, and we're going to be talking about that when we come back here on AFA Today. Much more ahead. Don't go away.